Hi, my name is Lina. I'm a 25-year-old model. I'm born in Germany and I'm based here in Korea for a year now. I haven't dated in Korea and today will be my first date in Korea. I would like to try out cooking with a guy. I think it's really fun to learn new recipes together. I'm really new to Korean food, so exploring Seoul would be also a really fun idea. Enjoying the weather, the view together, going for a walk and talking about our lives. I would start with, I really wonder why they would have chosen a dinosaur as their animal. But lately I've been really into chameleons, so I think I would go first with it. And then maybe, I wonder they choose the giraffe because they're tall. So maybe the second, and since I'm very curious, the last, the dinosaur. I think that will be my order.
Hello.
Hi, Camille.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm Lina. Nice to meet you too.
This for you.
Thank you. Why did you choose the chameleon?
It's a long story, but I think I can adapt to any situation. So, yeah.
I chose you first because I'm really into chameleons lately.
Yeah?
I watch a lot of videos of them. So I will keep him here.
Okay. Hello, I'm Roger. I'm from Spain. I came to Korea 6 months ago to open a cocktail bar with a friend.
I personally was very nervous. I didn't know what to expect since he was the first guy. My first impression was probably his height. There was this lamp right at where we were cooking and he nearly bumped into it. His appearance seemed younger to me than he actually was. I was for a moment even worried he's maybe younger than me. But I liked his smile, so that's plus points. And I like the height for sure too.
Weird because sometimes, you know, I'm Spanish, so you know that we are saying hi, giving two kisses. And here it's like, I don't know if I should give a hand, hug.
Yeah. I'm from Germany, we hug a lot. So we
you
can
hug? Okay. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, should we start?
Did you ever cook Korean food?
No.
I
you like Korean food?
I do like
it.
Yeah, I tried cooking some, but adoptee I'm very new to.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm a good cooker, but Spanish food or Italian food, but with this, I'm new.
Should we wash the hands first, right?
Yeah. You first, please.
I know the second step are aprons. Let's get them.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Which one do you like?
Which one do you like?
You can. I will wear this one.
Want me to help you?
Yes. Thank you. Should I help you?
Oh, okay. Yes.
I think it's like, here's your head. And then your
Like
arms.
Here because.
Yes.
Thank you.
Like this. Like this.
Not
Good.
your eyes, by the way.
Thank you.
You're right, and I was like, whoa, shocked.
Thank you.
Okay. She was pretty, of course, and she was taller than I was expecting. I loved her eyes, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we should wash them.
And what do you like the most about Korea?
So, I grew up in a small village in Germany, and I'm the big city. I really enjoy. Like, there's always something going on. The people are great, and the food is awesome.
That's a bit awkward.
The greens now. No, you just cut it one time in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think he was very nervous, and it felt a lot of times a little awkward. Maybe if I could change something, maybe to find a way to make him feel more comfortable.
No, yeah, it's not about being nervous. It's just that I didn't know what to do or how to prepare that. And then I looked at her, and the way she was preparing, I was trying to copy. I'm like a mess, and you're perfectly ready.
It's not that bad. I will start with the sauce. Maybe you can help me here.
Okay.
2 spoons from this one. You can fit more.
More?
Sure.
Like salty or? How you were doing it?
Oh, this is oil.
Interesting. More salt or is it good?
You should try it too.
Okay.
What do you think?
If I don't like it, it's your fault.
Indeed. Maybe a little more.
It's good.
pepper. I think we're good.
Okay. What's the next step? Thank you.
The best part, the meat.
Because you spent the last year, you were here for Christmas, right?
Right.
How was it?
It was good. We had a good dinner.
I'm not gonna say ever again that I'm a good cooker.
You put the veggies in there.
Yeah.
Not yet.
So maybe you can be here and you can be here and okay.
Wait, let's put the noodles in.
Okay, yeah. This kind of pasta is like chewing gum.
It's, what is it in English? It's like, we call it Glasnudeln. They're chewy noodles. Now the greens. The rest you forgot.
Okay, I put some of them before, but I think it's a special Spanish touch.
While cooking, I was kind of trying to find the spark between each other, but there's no connection between us.
So at some point we were kind of stuck and we were focusing on the cooking class and the conversation was not fluent at all.
We can sizzle over the sesame oil and sesame seeds.
You know, special that. But more?
That's great, I think. Thank you. And the same here. Okay.
More like this? Or? Oh, okay.
And for you.
Very good date.
That makes everything more pretty.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna try mine and say if you like it, but honestly.
Maybe your greens are a little overdone.
Not maybe for sure, but I think it's presentable as a restaurant.
It's perfect. This is japchae. It is eaten on like special occasions, and I like to think today is a special occasion.
Yeah, of course, it is. Okay, good to know. So it's a perfect situation. So this is like for me, cooking. It's like a typical thing for marriage. Like you're sharing. It's very personal. Like.
It's like we're living together right now.
The way she is and the things I saw is like there is expression into wife material. Maybe we should try this with
Right.
rice.
This is japchae, but there's a japchae bap. Bap is rice in Korean. So when we mix it with rice, we have japchae bap.
Yeah, to try with this.
Right.
It's very red, so for sure it's very spicy.
Yeah, we mix that then with the
Well,
chili.
I'm gonna try it for you, but I don't think maybe I'm dying here, but just a little bit, just in case.
So you've been here for 6 months, you said, right?
Yeah.
Did you date it before here?
Here, no. Well, not dating. Well, yeah, but not Korean people. At the beginning, I didn't think about staying so long, as I said before. But maybe now, yeah, I'm open to anything.
Good. Yeah.
And what are you looking for?
Yeah, also something fixed, something for the future. Because I came here and I want to stay. Because
Forever? Well, you never know, but...
you never know. Yeah, I am settling with my life and I'm feeling like ready for a relationship.
Good. Good to know.
Before we finish the food, I want to make a
Sure.
picture of it to remember.
Like this. Yeah, you can take a selfie.
Okay.
You have to show. You have to send me before. Before. Later.
Later, I will. Since we both cook together, we need someone who will wash the dishes.
Okay, we can decide depending on the
I
whose
think
food
it's
is better.
yeah, only fair about how we cooked. And I remember your greens being a little too long in your pan.
Okay, I admit it. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna wash the dishes.
That was easy. Good.
Can we take a look around? Just. What is that? It looks like a cow, right?
I don't know. Is it like a palm tree?
Only 1 minute?
15 minutes went like so
1 minute.
fast.
Oh, it's so sad.
Oh.
No. Okay. It was really nice.
Maybe there's a way I can do the time longer. I don't know.
Okay. How are we gonna do it? We're gonna run away. Thank you so much for everything. It was very nice to meeting you. I hope to see you again.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take advantage you like hugs, and I'm gonna give you another one. Let's go. Now thinking about the earning minutes, maybe I should have done something different in a different way. If I had more time, I would have asked so many things.
I was actually nervous after this because there was like no connection, no spark. I was nervous for the second date. I was worried maybe today will be a disaster or something. So I was a little worried after the first date.
Gyeongju, a city that holds 1,000 years of history. The cherished values, preserved over time, have shaped who we are today. Now, through new encounters, we step into a better future. Sustainability, innovation. With the spirit of connection, a new millennium story begins. As APEC and Gyeongju come together. APEC meets Gyeongju.
In our headlines on this Friday, November 7th, here in South Korea. North Korea launches a ballistic missile earlier this afternoon toward the East Sea, according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, marking its 7th missile test this year. A tower collapses at a decommissioned thermal power plant in the city of Ulsan, and authorities say at least 3 people have been killed, but that number is likely to rise. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Donald Trump is planning to devise a, quote, Game 2 plan to keep his tariff campaign on track, as a majority of Supreme Court justices share skepticism over his resort to emergency powers to place tariffs on imports into the American market. North Korea launched a ballistic missile toward the East Sea earlier on this Friday. The launch follows the regime's accusations of continued U.S. hostility as Washington sought fresh sanctions against Pyongyang earlier this week. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young has the latest.
North Korea fired a ballistic missile towards the East Sea on Friday, around 2 weeks after its previous provocation. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff says the launch was detected at 12:35 p.m. from the Daeguan area in Pyeongan-buk-do province, travelling about 700 kilometres. South Korea and the United States are conducting a detailed analysis to determine the missile's exact model and capabilities. The Allies' intelligence authorities identified signs of launch preparation in advance. Seoul's military says the missile was detected and tracked immediately, and Seoul also shared information in real time with Washington and Tokyo. This marks North Korea's 7th ballistic missile launch this year, and the 2nd since President Lee Jae-myung took office. The North regime previously fired a missile just 16 days ago, before US President Donald Trump's visit to the peninsula to attend the APEC meeting in Gyeongju City. Friday's launch follows Washington's strengthened sanctions aimed at North Korea's overseas revenue networks. The US Treasury Department on Tuesday imposed sanctions on 8 North Korean nationals and 2 institutions accused of moving funds generated through state-led cyber operations. This includes cryptocurrency theft and schemes to plant North Korean IT workers remotely in US companies. The State Department also started a process to place United Nations sanctions on 7 foreign-flagged vessels suspected of transporting North Korean coal and iron ore to China in violation of Security Council resolutions. Coal exports are widely identified as a key source of foreign currency for Pyongyang despite the ban. North Korea issued a response shortly after the sanctions were announced. Pyongyang's Vice Foreign Minister for US Affairs, Kim In-to, was quoted by state media condemning Washington's measures as hostile pressure and warned that the North would take corresponding measures. However, Seoul's Ministry of Unification said Thursday that the North's reaction appeared restrained, noting that the message was delivered via Vice Minister rather than by regime leader Kim Jong-un or senior party leadership. An official told the press that Pyongyang often aligns political statements and military activity to externally signal its resolve while maintaining cohesion at home. The South Korean military says it's maintaining a firm combined defense readiness posture and has the capability to respond overwhelmingly to any North Korean provocation. President Lee Jae-myung's National Security Council convened to review Seoul's response posture. The government urged North Korea to stop actions that threaten peace on the Korean peninsula, noting that the launch of a ballistic missile constitutes a violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Ulsan, Arirang News.
Also in Pyongyang, back on Wednesday, North Korean military officials and their Russian counterparts met for talks on bolstering cooperation and exchanges to promote their strategic alliance. According to North Korea's state-run media on this Friday, the meeting took place between members of the Korean People's Army General Political Bureau and those from Russia's main military political directorate. Meanwhile, in the South Korean city of Ulsan, a tower caved in during deconstruction work at a decommissioned power plant. At least 3 workers have been confirmed dead. Our Cha Yun-kyung has more.
As of 2 p.m. Friday, firefighting officials said 3 workers have been confirmed dead, 2 are presumed to be dead, and 2 others remain missing in the fatal collapse of a boiler tower in the southeastern city of Ulsan. The 60-meter tower at Korea East-West Power's Ulsan thermal power plant collapsed during scheduled demolition work on Thursday afternoon, trapping 9 workers at the site. A worker in his 60s, rescued at 9:06 a.m. Friday, was confirmed dead after being moved to a hospital, while another in his 50s, rescued at 11:15 a.m. this morning, was confirmed dead by staff at an on-site emergency medical facility before being moved to the hospital. The third fatality. A worker found trapped between the structure and the ground on Thursday went into cardiac arrest during a rescue attempt and was pronounced dead at 4:53 a.m. Friday. Progress at the collapse site has now been slowed to a near standstill. The entry route is blocked by a dense wall of twisted rebar and steel, forcing crews to dig through more than 30 meters of debris just to reach the collapse point. Rescue teams temporarily withdrew due to the heightened risk of a secondary collapse. Nearby boiler towers, units 4 and 6, have also been determined to be unstable, prompting the authorities to delay planned stabilization work.
Even during stabilization work, secondary accidents could occur, so that part has been put on hold. We decided in our situation assessment meeting that we will first conduct a thorough search and then move on to stabilization or find another method.
Speed matters, but the rescue has to be carried out safely, combining swift action with cautious dismantling.
The National Fire Agency is continuing to search for the missing, deploying a crane and rescue dogs after President Lee Jae-myung instructed officials to use all available personnel and equipment to save lives. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
On the trade front, exports of K-food products have been soaring, and findings for the first 10 months of this year show an almost 6% expansion on year, driven by demand in the Middle East. Our business correspondent Park Chun-han has the numbers.
South Korea's K-Food Plus exports, which combine agricultural products and agro-industrial goods, recorded their highest ever export value from January through October, according to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. The total export value for the period hit $11.24 billion, around 16.3 trillion Korean won, a notable increase of 5.7% from the same period last year, driven by strong global demand for Korean food products. By region, the Gulf Cooperation Council countries saw the highest increase, with exports reaching $339.8 million, a 20.4% rise from a year earlier. The European Union plus UK followed closely, with exports to these countries rising 14.8%. Exports to North America climbed 13.9%. Especially from July through October, Gulf Cooperation Council countries saw a whopping 23.5% increase in exports, compared to just a 0.6% increase in the U.S. Food items such as ice cream, beverages, and sauces drove the strong export growth. The Agriculture Ministry earlier this year said it plans to reach $14 billion worth of overseas shipments by the end of the year. With just November and December left, $2.76 billion worth of K-Food Plus shipments need to be made to reach this goal. The ministry said it will step up policy support for export companies by expanding financial assistance, easing export bottlenecks such as logistics and customs procedures, and promoting K-food sales through global marketing initiatives tied to Hallyu, or the Korean Wave. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., President Donald Trump has spoken of the need for a potential second plan to keep his tariffs on track. This intention follows news that a majority of Supreme Court justices have shed skepticism over the legality of his tariff policy. Our Lee Seung-jae explains.
The U.S. Supreme Court is weighing the legality of U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, a case that could have major consequences for both the U.S. economy and global trade. During a hearing on Wednesday, both conservative and liberal justices raised doubts about whether a 1977 emergency powers law gave Trump the authority to impose broader tariffs or whether he overstepped Congress's powers. The case is seen as a key test of presidential authority in trade policy. In response, President Trump said Thursday he will consider alternatives if the court rules against his administration.
We thought we did very well yesterday. We hope that we did. I think it would be devastating for our country, but I also think that we'll have to develop a Game 2 plan. We'll see what happens. Most people tell me we did very well.
He added that any alternative approach would likely take longer to implement. If the court finds Trump's tariffs unlawful, the government may have to refund some of the duties collected from businesses. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said in an interview with Fox News on Thursday that specific plaintiffs could receive refunds and that the government would need to work with the courts to determine repayment schedules. Greer estimated that the total amount at stake exceeds $100 billion and could approach $200 billion, though no exact figure has been confirmed. The ruling, expected in the coming months, will not only shape the scope of presidential powers, but could also affect U.S. trade relations around the world. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung has pledged to foster an environment where failure by researchers is embraced as a step toward success. To take a listen.
그 실패가 또 쌓여서 성공의 자산이 되는 거죠. 그래서 실패를 용인하는 그런 제대로 된 연구 개발을 할 수 있는 환경을 만들자. 그래야 나라가 흥할 수 있겠다.
The remarks were shared on this Friday during a televised debate among government officials, relevant researchers and young scholars aimed at sharpening South Korea's competitive edge in science and technology. On their agenda were the creation of dedicated funds and the provision of incentives for those who've experienced failure. The talks come as the government has set aside a record 35.3 trillion won, or some $24.2 billion for R&D, in its budget proposal for the year 2020. 26. In other news, Typhoon Kalmaegi has taken the lives of some 200 people in the Philippines and at least 5 in Vietnam as it heads west to Cambodia. Our Arirang covers the calamity thus far.
Typhoon Kalmaegi, after leaving the Philippines in ruins, moved on to lash through Vietnam late Thursday evening and into Friday. Having already been battling floods and record rains for the past week, Vietnam was hit by fierce winds of close to 150 kilometers per hour. The Disaster Management Agency in Vietnam reported at least 5 deaths on Friday, as well as 7 people injured and around 2,800 homes damaged. Areas in central Vietnam reported damaged buildings, submerged central roads, and fallen trees, while about 1.3 million people are reportedly to be without electricity. This Vietnamese rice farmer expresses no relief from the continuous storms.
You can tell that life is hard for us here from this flooded rice paddy field. The water receded from our home, so we moved our furniture back. And 3 days later, a storm came again and brought heavy rain.
The Vietnamese authorities mobilized more than 260,000 soldiers on Friday for search and rescue operations. Some airports and expressways have been closed and hundreds of thousands evacuated. Typhoon Kalmaegi has since weakened to a tropical storm and moved into Cambodia, while Thailand is also bracing for the storm's impact as local officials warned of flash floods, landslides, and overflowing rivers. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, the death toll from Kalmaegi climbed to 188 on Friday. The 20th storm wave to slam the Philippine archipelago this year. This typhoon is so far the world's deadliest of 2025. Ian, Arirang News.
It's been about a month since the Hague Adoption Convention that seeks to safeguard international adoptions has taken effect here in South Korea. That being said, our Park Kono recently sat down with one adoptee whose search for his birth parents here continues. To take a look.
Even after 5 decades, for some people, the search for their birth parents continues. 57-year-old Park Won-il, also known as Philip Peloshu, was sent to an orphanage in Korea just 3 days after birth and adopted at the age of 3. Although he says he grew up in a loving family in the U.S., Park said he sometimes faced difficulties.
I really didn't feel like I fit in. You know, Colorado at that time, and even today, I think is mostly Caucasian. You know, I kind of stood out like a sore thumb in that sense. So.
That's why he always wondered about its roots and has tried every possible means to find them.
All the DNA tests that I can, and then the other thing is I try to collect all the documentation I can. Got these pictures from the adoption agency, and these were pictures of me, you know, that were presumably sent to my adoptive parents, so that they could, you know, identify the child that they were getting.
During his search, he's managed to gather bits and pieces of information about his birth, including his name, assumed birthday, and even an address in Seoul of the custodian who sent him to an orphanage. While some pieces of information about him gave him hope, he says in most cases it ultimately led to nothing.
You get some piece of information, you start getting your hopes up, and then it turns out to not go anywhere. And that's why I feel like many times I'm on a roller coaster of emotions in terms of this search.
Fortunately, he hasn't been alone in this journey, as organizations like Co-Root have been there alongside him, helping him find related documents and communicate in Korean, a language he doesn't speak. Co-Root has also been working hard for decades to raise awareness and advocate for better laws protecting adoptees' rights, saying there's still much more that needs to be done.
Normally, when you visit a local office or access the internet, you can easily get a family relations certificate without anyone's permission. But that's not the case for them, as their information is often incomplete. That needs to be restored so that they can find them with just a single click.
As the government also announced last month that Korea has become a contracting party to the Hague Inter-Country Adoption Convention, following an official apology for those who have suffered, more governmental support could follow. That comes as there are known to be around 170,000 people adopted abroad since the Korean War. But alongside these measures, Park says he wants to focus on continuing his search as he is getting older, as well as his biological parents. His final words, if he finally gets to meet them, were these.
I've lived long enough that I recognize, life works in mysterious ways, and that I harbor no ill feelings or ill will towards whatever circumstance my birth parents might have been in that had them give me up for adoption. I want to kind of complete, for my own completeness, to understand where I came from, and I hope that they're not afraid to come forward.
박건우, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, lawmakers and stakeholders are exploring ways to promote K-Buddhism beyond national borders. At a policy seminar hosted by the Choge Order of Korean Buddhism and the Parliament's Culture Committee earlier on this Friday, participants, including lawmakers, monks and scholars, touched upon ways to enhance modern lifestyles through the practice of traditional Buddhist values. Chair of the Culture Committee, Kim Kyo-hung, also pledged budget support for a sustainable campaign to take K-Buddhism onto the international stage. Participants also called for government support for policies that advance the international exchange of culture. Meanwhile, on stage here in the capital city this weekend is a performance by the Seoul Metropolitan Dance Theatre that shares the shape of harmony between nature and tradition. Our Pyongyang was there.
Dancers dressed in white chokori shirts with vivid blue and red skirts move gracefully across the stage. Each gesture, down to the tips of their fingers, is deliberate. Their movements are like gentle ripples gliding across a still lake. This is Kyobangmu, the opening scene of Mimesis, a new work unveiled by the Seoul Metropolitan Dance Theatre at the Sejong M Theatre in Gwanghwamun. After the sold-out success of Ilmu, or One Dance, the troupe returns with Mimesis. It's a reflection on how nature breathes within Korea's traditional dances. The performance reinterprets 8 classic forms, all of which represent a different element of nature, such as the wind that blows through Halyangmu and the lightning that pierces the sky in Changgyemu, with its finale culminating in fire and light.
Our dances are a complete gift set of Korean tradition and folklore. As we explored the essence of each piece, we realized that the flow of nature is deeply embedded within our heritage, that every phenomenon we live with is mirrored in our traditional forms.
The dancers' modernized hanbok are also turning heads. A sheer, form-fitting togori accentuates the dancers' breathing and movement, while voluminous skirts restore the elegance of traditional silhouettes.
The most distinctive feature of traditional attire is the balance of a slim top and full bottom. I wanted to highlight that contrast to express both structure and vitality.
In each dance, unique accessories accentuate the dancers' movements. And a live orchestra of 9 musicians perform traditional Korean instruments, filling the stage with the deep resonance of Korean rhythm. The production also features star dancer Kim Woo-gan, known from Mnet's dance competition Stage Fighter, whose intense performances in the sword dance Changgyemu and finale Taepyeongmu bring a virtuoso solo performance to this ensemble masterpiece. The first run of Mimesis continues through Sunday at the Sejong M Theatre. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know around the globe. In the United States, Tesla shareholders have approved a record-breaking pay package for CEO Elon Musk worth nearly $1 trillion, the largest in corporate history. 75% of Tesla shareholders voted in favor of the deal at Thursday's annual meeting. The plan ties Musk's compensation to steep performance targets, including lifting Tesla's market value from the current $1.4 trillion to $8.5 trillion and deploying 1 million self-driving robotaxis. Supporters say Tesla can't afford to lose him, while critics call the scale of the deal unprecedented and risky. Musk celebrated on stage to loud applause, calling it, quote, a whole new book for Tesla's future. Tesla shares are up more than 60% in the past 6 months. As analysts say, Musk remains the company's biggest asset. In the United States, former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has announced she will not seek re-election, ending nearly 4 decades in Congress. Pelosi, aged 85, made the announcement on Thursday in a video message to her San Francisco constituents, calling her career, quote, the honor of a lifetime. Elected in 1987, she became the first and only woman to serve as Speaker of the U.S. House, leading Democrats through historic votes on health care, impeachments, and pandemic relief. Her decision follows a major political victory in California this week, where a redistricting measure she backed won by a wide margin. While former President Biden praised Pelosi as, quote, the best speaker in American history, President Trump called her, quote, evil and said he's glad Pelosi is retiring. Nancy Pelosi's final term will end next year. A new United Nations report warns this year is said to be one of the hottest ever recorded, pushing the planet deeper into climate crisis. The World Meteorological Organization said Thursday that 2023, 2024, and 2025 will rank as the hottest years in 176 years of records. Global temperatures so far are 1.42 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with greenhouse gases at record highs. UN Chief Antonio Guterres called the failure to limit warming to 1.5 degrees, quote, a moral failure, warning of irreversible damage unless urgent action is taken. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Even though today's Ipdong, which is the beginning of winter on the traditional calendar, the temperatures were higher than yesterday. It was as mild as 20 degrees Celsius in Seoul, about 5 degrees above the average temperatures for this time of year. It will drop to 17 degrees tomorrow, still exceeding the average temperatures. Meanwhile, rain is forecast for eastern parts of Gangwon-do province until tomorrow afternoon. About 5 to 30 millimeters of rain is expected. Rain will spread to Chungcheongnam-do province and the south tomorrow. Rain will fall occasionally on Sunday throughout the country, except for eastern parts of Gangwon-do province. Most areas will start off in double digits tomorrow morning, with Seoul at 11 degrees, Gwangju at 12 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 18 degrees in Daejeon and Daegu, 21 degrees in Busan. Temperatures will start to rise again in the second half of next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.
자연으로 다시 돌아간다.
이게 그 신발이구나.
100% 생분해되는 신발입니다.
야, 너무 신기하다. 엄마 커즈 검증 타임. Let's go.
저기 걸으면 이렇게 압력이 나올 거예요. 그래서 실제로 얼마만큼의 힘이 들어가고 스트레스를 몸에서 받는지도 다 측정을 하는 거죠. 그래프를 보시면 달리기를 하고 근육의 활성도가 피로도가 왔기 때문에 떨어졌고 이제 리커버리 신발을 신고 휴식을 취하고 난 뒤에 데이터를 보시면 짧은 시간 안에 근 활성도가 현저히 증가한 것을 확인하실 수 있습니다. 그럼 결론적으로는 피로도가 리커버리 되었다.
Officially certified by the American Orthopedic Association and attracting global investors left and right. Finalists at the world's largest outdoor trade fair. How about a fast post-run recovery?
Feeling overwhelmed by a busy life without knowing where you are heading.
Realizing your mind has gone completely blank.
If you need
Some time and space.
stay, escaping from a hectic life and waiting for your heart.
Temple, a place for self-reflection through peace and calm.
Walking and being in nature.
Slowing down your body and mind.
Staying for a joyful journey to face your inner self.
Focusing on the present moment. Finding the true happiness with yourself.
Emptying. Filling. Temple stay.
On Press Perspective today, we touch upon some sobering trends from workplace disengagement to the business of dying. Do stay with us. Hello and welcome. It's Friday, November 7th here in Seoul, and you're watching Press Perspective. The latest Gallup survey shows global workplace engagement dropped for the first time in 4 years to stand at 21% in 2024. Today, we start with this trend among employees here and elsewhere. For this, I have Rui Valdez with Spanish news agency EFE Spain here in the studio. Rui, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Sunny.
I also have writer Colin Marshall with the pundit's take on today's topics. Colin, it's great to have you here.
Thanks very much.
Rui, let's start off then with these findings from the Gallup study, and also what do you suppose are their broader implications?
Right, so the global engagement in the workplace, as you mentioned, has dropped for the first time in 4 years, meaning that the workforce in general, internationally, is less connected, less motivated, and feeling the weight of uncertainty. Just so the audience know the definition of this, when we're talking about engagement, it means the involvement and enthusiasm of employees in their work and workplace. They measure this by evaluating their expectations, recognition, growth opportunities, etc., because they believe that engagement is highly connected to profit as well. So if you don't have an engaged workforce, this could harm your profits, and of course it's also a signal that maybe something is not right in a broader societal level. So just to mention again, the global engagement dropped 23 to 21% last year, and is the second decline since 2009. This fall, according to Gallup's study, translates in an estimated $438 billion in loss of productivity worldwide. They say that managers were hit hardest. Engagement among them slid from 30 to 27%, with sharper drops among younger and female leaders. In general, well-being also fell, and they say that if the workplace would be more engaged, they could actually add like around $9.6 trillion or increase by 9% the global GDP. When they're analyzing why these things, why this effect is happening, they point out that it's because of cost of living pressures and career instability, trap between rising expectation and shrinking rewards. This is a phenomenon, as many of us know, that is happening globally in the sense that people nowadays, or younger people nowadays, they do have access to more services or more technology, but they do not have a financial reward enough to, for example, get a house or get a car or get high-value asset that will perdure as compared to their parents or earlier generations. So this could be connected to the results of Gallup, where you have this younger workforce that is thinking, future-orientedly thinking and saying, well, if I stay in this work, maybe, yes, I will get to manager, but even if I get to manager, I would never be able to afford an apartment or a house, so why do I have to make all this sacrifice? And this could create all this anxiety and just, in general, make a less engaged workforce.
Right. Colin, workplace engagement among South Korean employees was found to hover below the global average. Now, Rui touched upon this as well, but what more can you add to the reasons, perhaps, behind this lack of enthusiasm for work among employees?
Yes. As I recall from seeing the study, the rate of employees here reporting engagement in their work was something like 13%, around that number. It sounds low, but it's actually not the lowest. It's not at the bottom. And when you get to the highest, it's still, you're in the 30–40% territory. The highest, by the way, countries on this ranking were Uzbekistan was number 1. They had the highest proportion of workers feeling engaged. Below them, I forget the order, there was the Philippines, Mongolia, Senegal as well. So these four, so Uzbekistan, Mongolia, the Philippines, and Senegal, tough to draw any parallels between these countries. They're not very similar societies. So what you start wondering is, well, maybe the definition of engagement doesn't track very well between languages and cultures. And this is a theme we come up against on this program quite often, I suspect, is when these global surveys are done, you have one concept and it needs to be applied throughout various societies, through various languages. And what I took note of was seeing the Korean media coverage of this global survey. And of course, those articles are in Korean, and they don't say engagement, they say 몰입, the Korean term 몰입. You know, if using this word 몰입하다, I seldom use it because it's very strong to describe somebody being in this state, not just engagement. It feels like that to me is more they're plunged into something. They're so captivated, their attention can't be drawn away by anything else. And I think that's a pretty rare state to be in at work, no matter what society you're a part of, and especially in South Korea when people, let's face it, oftentimes they don't have many kind words to say about their job and what it feels like doing their job. Sometimes because they work for very large corporations, conglomerates, which for many Koreans, not all, is the goal. You want to be employed by one of the big companies that structure this economy. But then when you do, you're such a small cog in such a large machine, it can feel like you're so abstracted from anything happening on the ground, anything happening in society, any cause and effect. You're making PowerPoint shows, maybe, that if you're lucky, that no one ever really sees. So that's a problem. But, you know, nobody would deny the comforts of being in that position either, at least the comforts you get in the life that it affords you. You know, it's better than selling tteokbokki on the street, but the lady selling tteokbokki on the street, she can see the smiles on the faces of the children who come for it after school, and, you know, she can think, I did that. You know, I made something that makes them happy, and I think that's a lot more than many conglomerate employees ever get, unfortunately.
Right, as Rui was saying, a sense of perhaps reward for the job that's being done. Rui, you briefly touched upon this earlier. There's a double decline in both workplace engagement and the quality of life. What has been your experience working here in South Korea, and how does that experience perhaps compare to your work elsewhere?
Yes, well, this was a very interesting comparison to make. So I tried to focus on the results for Mexico, the country where I'm from, and Korea, and just also related a little bit with my experience. In general, Korea and Mexico are among the OECD countries, the ones that always have the highest number of working hours a day. People tend to overwork a lot. They also have other similarities, but in this ranking, Korea is much below than Mexico. Mexico is actually quite high. It's one of the top countries in Latin America to report a higher engagement in the workplace. So I was giving a little bit of thought of why this could happen. One of the reasons, as Colin pointed out, when you see the evaluation of the results or the countries that were in the first places, it does make you wonder that the difference in culture could affect the conception of what engagement means. Being that said, I do see a striking difference between Korea and Mexico. That is social pressure and expectations. So you have two societies that overwork a lot, but probably, at least in my experience, in Mexico, people tend to be more satisfied when they finish work. When the work is done, it's time to meet their friends, it's time to have some kind of social interactions or activities. You feel like you did your part, and now you can deal with your second life. When I have worked in Korea, I feel that many people do not have that philosophy of working life. They tend to, there's two things. First, they overwork. Many of them either just go to work, maybe have a drink, go home, sleep, and then repeat the same thing over again. Some people just go to work, sleep, go to work, sleep, and then on the weekend, maybe they're just sleeping by themselves in their houses. They don't have much social interactions. So probably that's the difference why they have expressed these results of lack of satisfaction or lack of a proper reward as compared to other countries. Still, we need to be a little bit careful when analyzing the data. As Colin was mentioning, the first places were Uzbekistan, Senegal, and the Philippines, which are very different countries that are far from being developed countries. And also within the developed countries, you see a very large difference. For example, United States and Canada are around the 30%, which is quite high, but France is in 8%, which is one of the lowest of these analyses, which makes you think a little bit, that maybe even though French workers express or they have less engagement compared to other countries, maybe also the way they express these results is because their expectations are probably higher than in other, let's say, developing countries. As I just mentioned the example, let's say, of Mexico and South Korea. So probably there's other factors that make them interpret that, as Colin was mentioned, that engagement for them requires a higher level of rewards or a higher quality of life in exchange of their work. So there's very specific factors for every specific culture that I would believe is kind of hard to compare with the index. I'm not saying that the index is useless, because it does give you a perspective of maybe how individually these countries think, but in the moment of comparison, it has to be, at this point or at the point of this conversation, more about, as you just asked me, about my own experience. So my own experience is that Mexico and Korea are similar in the way, in the level that they put on their work, the working hours, but they're different in the sense of their expectations or what they feel as rewarded for what they do in the workplace.
Right. And Colin, what are some of your takeaways from this study?
I might also draw a parallel, as Rui did, between my country and the country I came from and this one. I'm from the US, and as he said, the US did pretty well in the rankings in terms of reporting engagement in work. But I've long noticed this contrast in the way people talk about their work and the relationship to the society between the US and Korea. And since I first came here, I would hear Koreans or indeed foreigners complain about Korea. They'd say, oh, I hate Korea, I want to leave Korea. It's not universal, but there are people who say it. You hear it more than you hear it in the US. You don't hear I hate America quite as much. You do hear it, just not as much. And I realized, hearing this over and over again, I'm thinking, what do they hate? What are they complaining about when they say, I hate Korea? And it became clear to me that they hate their jobs. They're always talking about their jobs. You know, it's after some litany of complaints about their boss or their company or whatever, they come around to, I hate Korea, I want to leave Korea. Because they hate their jobs, they declare that they hate Korea. And that's striking when you come from another country. I suspect not just the US, but most other countries, it doesn't quite work that way. Hatred for the job does not translate to hatred for the society itself. And you know, here on this broadcast, we've talked about worabe, work-life balance, the Koreanization of this concept, work-life balance. The idea being you should separate your work from the rest of your life, much as Rui said in Mexico that happens. Well, I wonder if maybe the work and the society should be a little more separate than they are in Korea. So wosabe, something like that. You know, if the conditions of work and the nature of Korean society weren't so closely tied up or so closely perceived as being tied up, it might be healthier. But as far as takeaways go, I think looking at the conclusions of this survey, it comes down to management, the culture of management being very important and needing to improve management. Maybe that's a problem in Korea. Maybe management is not developed in the right way, or the culture of management doesn't quite work as it needs to. But I think the real winners of this project are going to be the management consultants in whatever country you go to.
Right, something to keep in mind then. Rui, let's move on to another issue of interest with regard to South Korea in the international media. Agence France Presse just published an article titled, and I'm quoting, "Death becomes a growing business in aging, lonely South Korea." For the sake of our viewers who may not have read this particular article, could you give us a quick rundown?
Yes, I know this topic might sound a little bit somber because we're going to talk about death, of course, but probably part of what the article addresses is just a part that we need to accept as a society. You know, people will die and there has to be an industry around it. In that sense, the AFP report talk about that because of South Korea is an aging society, many young people are seeing as a potential career path working as what they call trauma scene cleaners and another type of works related to, for example, when a person passes, clean up their belongings, whatever they left out. And left behind, sorry. And these professions, well, are quite peculiar. The article talks about the people that practice these jobs, and they talk about how when they experience going to the house and seeing the belongings of the person, like bottles of soju that are still not open, or the stuff that the person was planning to do or to use, is quite shocking, but also gives you a very big portrait of a person's life. The focus of the article too is that this industry is growing because there's a lot of lonely deaths. What they call, these are people that live alone, and it's that, let's say, one-person households have been recently increasing a lot in Korea. So there's a lot of people that pass in their houses by themselves. So you have these companies that will take these services. Sometimes they are hired by the relatives of the person that died, so that they could take care of this, what we would think is an uncomfortable part of dealing after death. So there are two parts related to the nature of the job, which is, as I mentioned, the aging society, but there's also the fact that there's many suicide deaths in South Korea. So sometimes it doesn't have to be old people, sometimes it's younger people, and of course, I don't know, I would love to ask a person who works in this exactly what was the motivation behind it to end up in a work like this, but I feel it's quite a remarkable profession, because at the end it's something that somebody will have to do. And they even talk about that through these jobs, sometimes by avoiding that things get rotten, talking about, let's say, organic things that the person leaves behind, they also help the area not to get polluted. So it's quite a honorable service. But in terms of how it mirrors Korean society, there are parts that should be pointed out in the sense of what Korean society is becoming in terms of aging, and also the big somber issue of suicide, and how all these two phenomena create this new industry.
All right, and staying with that then, Colin, some observers say these chosen career paths, some have preferred to refer to them as bereavement clean-out services, that these career paths among the youth are a reflection of our current reality. What are your thoughts?
Yes, the coverage of this phenomenon in the Korean and foreign media has taken quotes from some of the students studying to become, for example, funeral directors, and as well as these workers doing cleanup as well. They asked them what keeps them going, what got them into this. But with the funeral directors in training, they often responded with either what I would consider a real Korean pragmatism of saying, well, this is a growth industry. You know, there's going to be jobs here, so I'm going to get, even if I'm scared to do it, I'm going to get in on that. Okay, that's one reason. Another they provide is some have had experiences with funeral services here during a difficult time. They've seen these directors or these companies do an unexpectedly good job. They've added, professionalism or even artistry to an event that is undesirable. And so, having experienced that, they feel like they can provide that to their customers as well, if that's something they want to provide. So it's not purely calculating, at least from the students who have provided quotes to newspapers and whatnot. But as well, as I mentioned before, the lady selling tteokbokki on the street, she can feel what service she's providing. And in the same way, somebody cleaning up, as unpleasant as it is, cleaning up a dead person's belongings, you do feel like you're accomplishing, I don't know about accomplish, you feel like you're providing a necessary service. You know exactly what you're doing that needs to be done, and you can sense what would go wrong if you didn't do it. If you weren't there, if you're working in a cubicle at a conglomerate, if you weren't there, the world's probably going to keep turning. But if no one's cleaning up a dead person's belongings, you've got a problem. So it may be not that well paid, and it's certainly unpleasant and arduous, no doubt, but there is a sense that, well, you are contributing to society at the end of it, and that's not available in every job, unfortunately.
And for the sake of comparison, Roy, what can you tell us about this career path, the bereavement clean-out services among the youth elsewhere, beyond national borders, that is?
Well, I didn't really find that there's a global trend in these services. I found that in some countries, you can draw similarities with the case of Korea. Of course, countries that share similar problems like aging and suicide, like Japan. For example, in Japan, very similar cases or very similar industries is rising, with many young people choosing it as a career path. And they basically do the cleaning, cataloging, mementos, and family support. They also give emotional support to the families, so it's kind of like an integral service. I found in Singapore, there's also similar services. And there is one that has caught the attention internationally because they made a TV adaptation and a book that is called Swedish Death Cleaning. But this is a little bit different. This is, of course, a service created in Sweden. It's when the person is getting close to death because of age or sickness, they hire this service before they die. So this company already organizes how they're gonna, let's say, well, I didn't want to use the word get rid, for lack of a better word, but we'll get rid of their stuff that they're gonna leave behind, either by giving it to the relatives or throwing it away. So when they leave, they don't have to leave behind stuff that honestly, then sometimes it's hard to know what to do with them. Like, depends, every family is different, but if I don't know, if there was not much closeness with the relatives or they're spread it around, it's not that easy also to take care of the things that a person leaves behind after the death. So this is a pre-death service that has become quite a catchy thing internationally.
Over in Sweden, right? It started off there. I believe I read an article on that as well. They talked about decluttering to leave behind a lighter legacy, were the words used by the article I read. All right then, Rui, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you.
And Colin, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you. See you next time.
Right, that ends this edition of Press Perspective. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. See you back on Monday.
필라테스 기구는 전 세계에 4가지 기구가 있습니다. 캐딜락, 리포머, 베럴, 체어. 거기에서 할 수 있는 동작이 대략 한 2~3천 개가 되는데 추가적으로 발레 운동, 그다음에 피트니스, 그다음에 요가, 그다음에 TRX, 매달리는 거, 근력 운동이 모두 다 이 제품으로 가능합니다.
이거 하나로요?
맞습니다.
여러 가지 기구가 필요한 게 아니라 엘라스트 한 대만 있으면 다 가능하다는 거예요. 정말 끝판왕.
The transformer of the Pilates world. Need to move? Nope. Want to save space? Absolutely. Over 2,000 moves loaded. Real-time streaming. Hip vibes and exciting fun for everyone. With BodyKnox Illustar, you can get your hip on too. Time to fall in love with the body. BodyKnox Illustar. Try it now.
Korea, a globally recognized sports powerhouse. Behind the dazzling achievements, there's always an invisible force at work. With sophisticated materials, cutting-edge equipment, and innovative technological solutions, SMEs in the K-sports industry play a vital role in bolstering Korea's status as a sports powerhouse. By integrating AI technology, they unlock athletes' potential and enhance performance, elevating the sports environment to the next level and opening new markets in the sports industry. Their innovative technology and bold challenges drive the growth of Korea's sports industry, creating a better world through sports. The innovation of these SMEs never stops. A systematic partnership support program is implemented to discover promising sports SMEs, provide technical validation and R&D support to enhance competitiveness, and strengthen the foundation for overseas expansion. At Tokyo Sportech 2025, the technological prowess of Korean companies was recognized. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and the Korea Sports Promotion Foundation supported K-sports companies with product promotion and business consultations with global buyers, demonstrating product quality and market potential, and confirming the possibility of expanding into the global market.
저희는 ICT 강국으로서 그 바이어나 사용자들한테 신기술을 접목한 생활 스포츠 기회를 실질적으로 확대할 수 있는 그 기회를 제공하는데 많은 도움이 될 수 있으리라고 확신을 합니다.
이제 스포츠도 K죠. K 스포츠는 이겁니다.
The joy for all, created by the power of K-Sports. Experience the future of the new sports industry through the innovation and technology of the Korean sports industry.